Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
You know, someone once said that Thomas Jefferson was a gentleman of 32 who could calculate an eclipse, survey an estate, tie an artery, plan an edifice, try a cause, break a horse, and dance the minuet. However, I think this is the most extraordinary collection of talent and human knowledge that has ever gathered here together at the White House, with the possible exception of when Thomas Jefferson died alone. Name the person who said that. You're right. It's John F. Kennedy.
Oh.
And it was at the
I was
White
going to
House.
say Thomas Jefferson, but I knew that was wrong.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It was at the White House while entertaining all the Nobel Prize nominees from the Western Hemisphere.
You know how I knew I would have gotten it if you started it with
Yeah.
Yeah, before the podcast, Richard was talking about a recent trip to Philadelphia.
Oh. Wait, you guys were hanging out without me?
No.
No, I was just out there with Tom Hanks and Bruce Springsteen.
What the fuck? Really?
And
the movie,
the actor
Philadelphia.
and
Philadelphia
composer.
was the movie. I had some freedom over there, Jeff.
well, you got
Slice of
you got
Philadelphia
exposed to a lot of accentuary, a lot of East Coast accentuary.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, I did realize that if you do take a bad New York accent
Mm-hmm.
and then you combine that with a bad Boston accent, you get a passable Philadelphia accent.
Oh, okay.
Which is good because I do very bad New York and Boston accents, so I think I'm well on my way.
Perfect. Well, okay. Linguist and other things is now what you could hyphenate your name with, right? Your title. So, or linguistic impressionist or something like that. But
cunning linguist.
Cunning linguist. Yay!
That's the hackiest.
Yeah,
That's
God,
really
I love it.
the
I love it
worst
so much. Well, the subject you may have guessed, but you probably weren't even listening, is the Mount Rushmore of hyphenates. So people who have more than one kind of professional acknowledgement to their credit.
And not what Michael thought this was, which was people with hyphens in their names.
Well, but to be fair, you thought it could have been just like model/actor.
Well, that would be it.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Yeah.
No, but I mean like.
But
only talking. But like the choice would have been model/actor, and then go into a thing.
No, I meant like people who were that.
Okay,
you're an idiot. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so we now know that the subject going on my brain.
Podcaster -idiot.
Richard is. Wow, how can you do both so well? So this is the thing that I was thinking, and I have my Borglum bag choice ready.
I love it. You're jumping out with it. Like you're going to hit us over the head with it as if we've already failed.
That's right.
You're just like ready with it.
No, I'm just telling you.
The bag is like half open. You're like peeking in.
Swinging it around.
I was talking to the listener, not to you guys. Don't worry, guys. I got you. I got you.
Will there be any guests that may be appearing from out from beyond?
I don't know. I would like to make it known that anyone who's a participant in the Mount Rushmore podcast may appear from the past as the wraith-like apparition of a dead president.
Ooh, exciting.
I already did. If I would have talked like this,
there we go.
Then I would have been.
Is he doing his Philly accent? My God, that's dead on.
That's Ethel Merman's speaking voice. So, why don't Michael start?
Okay. My first choice, Leonardo da Vinci. Renaissance man, inventor, painter, teenager, mutant, ninja, turtle. What is this guy?
That's a lot of hyphens, I gotta admit.
Lordy Lord.
You could see evidence of mutantism in his work.
Oh,
you look at the Vitruvian Man.
Yeah.
That guy's got 4 arms and 4 legs.
He's like waving in the air.
We know what he was doing.
How many schlongs did he have, though? Just the one.
The Last Supper, it was like 12 people there.
When you kind of clarified this topic for us, this is the first thing I thought of. I thought of the person that was the original
Renaissance man.
The guy that was the guy that could do anything, that was into anything. That is known for being like a brilliant mind.
Yes.
And that brilliant mind often isn't able to be contained within one medium. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just a great painter and did the Mona Lisa, which kind of boring. Mm-hmm. But he invented ridiculous corkscrew helicopter machines that never actually flew. Yes. I mean, that's an impressive feat to invent something that doesn't actually work. Mm-hmm. That's like a kid's drawing. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, my son is 8 months old. I'm sure he could draw something that could never be created.
Yeah.
So go to hell, Leonardo da Vinci, and rot there forever.
Michael, you didn't even mention his code.
Mm.
Oh, that's right.
That's something he did.
He made a code.
Code maker, yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, fuck.
But I don't know. Yeah. On my notes, author of the Da Vinci Code, which is a how-to guide to pick up chicks. So we're going to get there.
Perfect.
We had some jokes down at the very bottom.
Math, anatomy, geology, astronomy, botany, writing, history, video game development.
Yeah.
Web programmer.
Yeah, he actually developed the first version of Adventure for Atari.
That's right. Dig Dug. I think he did Dig Dug.
It was actually called Dig Dug Da Vinci. Yeah.
Dig Dug Da Vinci.
It must have been interesting to be like, oh, he's such a Renaissance man, and then that's something that gets tacked on hundreds of years later.
Yeah.
Back then, he was just like
the man.
I just got to do stuff. I'm so pent up. I gotta paint and I gotta invent and I gotta have these studies of things and oh my god, I gotta do all this stuff.
What was the Renaissance era version of cocaine?
Yeah,
because whatever that was,
it was like
a lot of that going on.
It was in the paint. It was like whatever was in like cadmium, like whatever is like it's just there and you it was just on your hands and you just sniffed it and you're just like
he would get going and he'd sniff some cadmium and get those like the cadmium teeth going and start grinding and his eyes.
One aspect that I was going to add in my introduction with the JFK quote
was no Da Vinci's.
Was the eras emerge in which one may be a multifaceted individual, and then there seem to be eras in which a specialism is favored over generalism. And I think if Da Vinci was alive, perhaps he was alive during times when guilds might have... I don't think there's probably a guild for inventing, but like there might have been times when opportunity was rife to invent all these things that were needed in the world, or to create and map out things such as anatomy, which Da Vinci investigated through his biological human anatomy investigations. And then somebody like Thomas Jefferson, who wasn't in Europe, wasn't born in Europe, but was in this new world in which all the things hadn't been named yet, all the things hadn't been labeled yet. You had an opportunity, and you were forced to be resilient.
I'm glad they didn't send the dumb guy to name things.
The idiot.
Because that's what this world was. Like the 1500s were and the 1600s were a world of like a few brilliant minds and just the dumbass guy who was pulling beets out of the ground. Yeah. And that's all he did all day. He just pulled beets. Funny. And he was just like the dumbass beet puller
That's
guy.
A dog. That thing that you ride, that's a tall dog. That thing that gives milk, that's a milk dog. The thing with a long neck dog. What about giraffe? No!
Why is he doing it? He's doing Larry the Cable Guy. Is that what that was?
Did go.
Get it done.
Get her done. Get her named.
Get her named.
Yeah, I think they sent all the dumb guys, but with all the shit that they wrote down, didn't stand the test.
Yeah, do you think Da Vinci was there like, nope, not calling it that. Nope, we're not calling it that. That one's not bad.
So yeah, I do think there were these eras that embraced the multifaceted individual who was able to kind of seek out and go from one thing to another. And I wanted to say that that's part of the American. There's another person that I mentioned and JFK mentioned in that original thing, Benjamin Franklin, who did come from Europe and did work in guilds and did belong to a printing guild and was stuck in this place where you had to do this one job because your parents did that job, and came to America where he could just be fucking about anything he wanted. He even invented the American spirit that way, not the cigarette.
He might have.
He might have. Who knows? He probably he could have done that.
Check the facts on that.
Yeah. All right, Richard Manfredini.
Are we still going back to that thing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Let's call back to last week's episode. So my first choice is Hedy Lamarr.
Oh, awesome.
Not Hedley.
Not
Lamarr
Hedy from Blazing Saddles.
From Blazing Saddles.
I've got the book of Hedy Lamarr, just waiting to read her story about her. Yeah.
And they have actually a documentary that is going to be released in theaters within the next few weeks.
Oh, is that right?
And then it'll be on PBS later this year.
Oh, I'll watch that and pretend I read the book.
That's what I'm at. That's what I'm saying you should do.
Okay.
So Hedy Lamarr was one of the, I guess, most famous actresses of the 30s and through the 50s, probably. A beautiful, maybe not the best actress, but someone who is renowned the world over for her beauty, for her charm, for her grace. If you're a modern film viewer, you might know her. Probably the most famous movie she was in was Samson and Delilah, the 50s version with Victor Mature, where she played Samson, which is a really odd casting choice, I thought. But no, she played Delilah. But beyond being this sort of like ingenue film actress, she also had this second life as an inventor. And she started out as a kid, and she just would be the type of kid who would take things apart and figure out how they worked and put them back together. And she would come up with these just weird oddball inventions, this thing that would be like an accordion type thing that would go on the Kleenex. So that way it didn't matter. You could put, if you had the used tissues, you could just store it in there. Mm-hmm. Or a glow in the dark dog collar.
Oh.
And stuff like that.
That's on my list of things to get, like my Amazon shopping list. Oh, we need a glow in the dark dog collar for our dogs.
Yeah.
Literally, we're like waiting to get that. So
well, thank Hedy Lamarr for that.
Lamarr brand.
Yes.
Glow in the dark dog collar.
Exactly. But probably the thing that she was most known for inventing was essentially Bluetooth.
Yeah.
During World War II, being a Jew from Austria originally, she was definitely down to try and take down the Nazis.
Yeah.
And one of the issues that they had was that torpedoes were being jammed by the Germans. They were jamming the signal, so they weren't effective. And she sat down with a leading modernist music composer that she met at a party at one time. And they figured out that if you could essentially, I'm trying to explain this, and I'm kind of an idiot about science stuff, but if you could essentially have the torpedo and the guidance system almost have, the way they described it would be piano player music. You know, how it's got the holes cut out and everything.
Player piano music.
Yeah, if you had that one on each side, no matter what frequency they were at, as long as they knew what to look for, they could kind of be able to read each other's frequencies.
Yeah.
It's called a smart frequency
skipping. It's kind of frequency skipping, trying to find that the one radio receiver is entrepreneurial, looking for this
one message. Yeah, it's called frequency hopping spread spectrum. And the idea being that if the Germans didn't know what this random series of beeps and codes that were going out, there would be no way for them to actually lock into it.
Yeah.
Now, originally during World War II, the Army, or I guess it was the Navy, decided they couldn't use that because when they explained it to them like a roll of player piano music. The Navy got in their head that they actually meant player piano music, like sheet music. Like they couldn't get them to understand this idea of, no, that was just an example that we gave you just to get you to understand the concept.
Yeah.
They just got locked on this idea. Oh, well, you can't put player piano music on a torpedo. That'd be too big.
It would get wet, and then you turn it colorized. And then
it would turn into the Led Zeppelin album cover. Call back to last week's episode. But it did eventually wind up being used. It was used in 1962, and they started using it in military ships during the Cuban blockade. And she was eventually, this sort of technology wound up more or less being used in CDMA cell phone networks. They use a lot of that same technology. Bluetooth uses that same sort of technology. So there's a very good chance you wouldn't have Bluetooth if it wasn't for Hedy Lamarr.
Wow.
She was one of the, I was going to say she dated Howard Hughes in the 40s, but literally every Hollywood actress in the 40s dated Howard Hughes. Yeah. But he actually basically said to her, look, I've got my team of engineers and scientists working on whatever crap he was working on. You let them know if there's anything you want them to build. You just let them know, because she actually helped to design the Spruce Goose or some of his planes. she looked at the design and he had like square wings.
Mhm.
And she said, well, that doesn't seem like that makes sense. Went out, got some books on birds and fish
Yeah.
and looked at the way that their bodies and their wings and fins and everything worked and redesigned the airplane based on that. And he just looked at it and said, well, you're a genius.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. She wound up coming to the United States because she had been married to a munitions seller, like a war profiteer in Austria, and he was incredibly jealous and literally would not let her leave the house when he wasn't around, and she literally had to go on this, like, depending on which story you believe, she either escaped with her maid or she possibly knocked out the maid and took the maid's clothes and then escaped.
Wow.
Some sort of like real crazy great escape sort of plan to be able to get to the United States in the first place. Is now in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. And somebody who just didn't get her just due because, look, she was an incredibly gorgeous female actress. Who's going to believe?
Right.
Well, or just a woman.
Female. I mean,
woman,
yeah, female in general. But, it just, on top of that, I mean, this would be like Angelina Jolie coming up with some sort of like a new invention for like medical, medical implants or something like that.
Her 3-sided Q-tip that she had
did not work so well. Not so nice.
Brad, come look at this. Okay, so awesome, cool first pick.
Yeah, great choice, Richard.
Michael, what do you got?
My second choice is Nick Offerman, who is a comedian, he's a writer, he's an actor, and also highly skilled woodworker.
Oh, cool.
I think this is a choice on here because sometimes your calling isn't what necessarily makes you money.
Yeah.
Isn't the thing that kind of sometimes the things that you do for work aren't the things that drive you.
Yeah.
And it isn't until you can kind of get to that point where you're like, oh, I don't have to do comedy. I don't have to be a writer. I just want to work on wood and be a skilled artist in that way. That I think it feels like this is this guy's life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard like a lot of interviews with him where he just, all he wants to talk about
is canoes.
Yeah. And creating, he wrote a book a few years ago, which, comedy book, it's kind of not self-help guide. He wrote a couple of books. One was, maybe it was that one I'm thinking of, called Paddle Your Own Canoe. And it was like a kind of how to be a man, but a lot of it was put into terms of, his own
woodworking.
His woodworking.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bit of a douche canoe if you ask me, but I don't know. He doesn't really. I just wanted to make that joke. Sorry.
Let it be known on this podcast that we said douche canoe at least 2 years into its relevance.
Can knock that one right off the list. Okay, next up, could do a little "That's What She Said" action.
A few years. What were you going to say, Jeff?
Do you feel that supports somewhat his character of Ron Swanson on
It's hard
Parks and Rec?
It's hard to say. I think that they're, sometimes it's hard to cut one character from the real life person or how much one informs the other.
Or Ron was written for
Nick. He probably. I mean, he was a part of like the Chicago improv scene with Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
So she probably knew of his the way that he was before.
Here's this guy who when we all go off to see a movie, he goes off and does woodworking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he, he's put out a DVD, like an instructional DVD on how to make a canoe, and he's just a very interesting. Seems very both bombastic and down to earth at the same time. Somehow he straddles both of those.
He when you see him outside of like his acting roles, he looks a bit like the Brawny Man.
Yeah,
the mustache and the plaid shirt, and you see him out there, and he's just sort of like his best life is just being out there in a cabin somewhere.
It's kind of like
making some wood stuff.
What was the God? I can't remember his name, obviously, because I'm using the word a lot. But the character of Al Borland on Home Improvement.
Okay,
he was like the Tim
the Tool Man Taylor.
Yeah, what was it? What was
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen. Thank you. He was like Tim Allen's like right hand man, but he was the guy.
I mean, Family Feud's Richard Karn.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I couldn't remember his name.
There you go.
So
Now you know it.
But like he seemed like a character that like outside of like in his real life was also into that sort of thing.
Or a bit of a Billy Mays aspect to it. If you took Nick Offerman and Billy Mays, you would have got the guy from Home Improvement.
There you go.
Billy Mays, the pitchman?
Yes. Because he kind of looked like
the
guy from,
his appearance. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
a little bit of the appearance, but then you got like a little woodsiness, woodsy flavor of Nick Offerman.
Interesting. All right. So, Richardo.
Okay, so my second choice is Steve Martin.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, pretty obscure.
Is his name
person.
Steve or Martin? I'm writing this down.
It is Martin Steve Martin.
Martin Steve Martin. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So comedy writer, stand-up comedian, actor, novelist, playwright, musical theater composer, musician, and art collector.
Art collector.
Yeah.
I think he can juggle too.
Oh, he can juggle. Do a little bit of magic on the side if he needs to.
Tap dancer.
I'm not sure about that. You're thinking of Gregory Hines. You always think of Gregory
I'm
Hines.
always thinking it. In Pennies from Heaven, Steve Martin comes off convincingly as a accomplished tap dancer. Yeah.
No, there's really nothing the man, I'm fairly convinced, can't do. I have a list of his awards and nominations. He won an honorary Academy Award. He's a three-fourths of the way to an EGOT.
Okay.
Needs the Tony. He was nominated twice last year for his...
Is it an honorary Tony?
No, it's a real Tony. By the way, honorary Tony is one of the worst mob names ever. We got Big Louie, we got honorary Tony. For Bright Star, which is a musical that he did with Edie Brickell, who he's done a lot of music stuff with. He's won, let's see, 5 Grammy Awards. And that includes 3 for music and 2 for comedy. He's nominated twice for a Teen Choice Award, but he's never won that. I don't know if he wins a Teen Choice Award.
Honorary Teen Choice Award.
If he wins a Teen Choice Award, does that count as a T? Are we going to allow that? The Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, a Disney Legend Award.
Yeah.
Which, have you won that yet, Jeff?
I am up for it in 1 year because it has to be a certain age.
Oh, is it?
Now, I think
is this a list of like the Mount Rushmore of like of like strange award shows? Like, is he a Nickelodeon award show winner?
Let me check. Teen Choice.
Did he get a VMA?
He definitely got some. He definitely got some MTV Movie Award nominations.
He did win the AVN Award for Best Oral Scene Female.
Right. See, there is literally nothing the man can't do.
Nothing the man can't. No one the man can't do. Unlike your previous choice of Hedy Lamarr, these all seem to be, other than art critic, in the nature of performance.
Yeah, in terms of performance, he is somebody who I think has a level of performance to him that ranges from
versatility. Yeah,
ranges from his early stand-up work, which was essentially deconstructing the idea of stand-up.
Yeah,
and as part of that included being a sort of intentionally hokey banjo song and dance kind of man, to the point where we are now, where he is a legitimately accomplished and Grammy Award winning bluegrass musician.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been able to take his versatility and transform himself as he's gotten older and gone through his career.
Yeah,
even though I did stumble upon a clip of his, and I think I'll try. We'll post this on the social media. Of his first job was actually as a writer for Glenn Campbell's
Good Time Hour.
Good Time Hour, yeah. And there's one segment of Glenn Campbell playing Cripple Creek on a banjo with a bunch of the boys from the show.
Yeah,
and it's like it's Glenn Campbell, it's Mason Williams from classical gas fame, John Hartford, who wrote "Gentle on My Mind."
Wow,
and also Steve Martin. It's like from 1969, so it's probably his first TV appearance. So it's interesting to look at that and know that even before he really had a persona as a comedian, this banjo playing was very important to him. And then when he started to get this career as a stand-up comedian and a writer, he sort of took that and twisted it and used that as part of this like deconstruction of you almost feel like it's a deconstruction of himself as much as a deconstruction of stand-up comedy.
I think Christopher Guest and team did something similar with their Spinal Tap characters,
right?
In that they were part of a youth movement that supported folk music and learned the instruments that you learn to play folk music and to be part of that scene. and then later on satirized folk musicians in The Mighty Wind or rock musicians in Spinal Tap.
And he's been able to use that. I mentioned the art collecting. He's started collecting basically since when he first got into entertainment. And he's hosted exhibitions. He sold a Hopper painting. Not Mr. Hopper from that's Mr. Hooper. Yeah, different. He sold a Hopper painting at Sotheby's for $25 million. He's curated other shows.
Yeah.
And I mainly remembered this originally because he did a bit where he was on Letterman one time, and they were going to do they came back from commercial, and Letterman's talking about, I know you're a big art collector, and you've actually been nice enough to bring some of your pieces out, and they have him out on the stage, and they about 5 minutes of just talking about it, inevitably to the point where he accidentally knocked off just $1 million piece.
Yeah,
it was such a bad obvious setup, but it worked because he's so brilliant. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's an example of someone who is able to take their their natural curiosity. He strikes me as a very naturally curious person.
Yeah.
And use that to try different things.
I saw his...
And he just happens to be really good at all of them.
That's what I was going to say is use his natural curiosity versus celebrity. Because I bet Jared Leto has an art collection.
He probably does.
He's got a band. I bet he's got a restaurant.
So you're saying he's like the Gen X, like Steve Martin?
Well, I bet.
Ooh, boy, that actually makes some really awful logical sense.
Steve Martin does these things well, but sometimes celebrity buys you into the opportunity to do things. Well, and
it did to some extent. Look, he got to play with great musicians like Earl Scruggs originally. Mm-hmm. I'm sure not just because he was a good banjo player, but because he was Steve Martin.
Yeah.
But, if you ever go see him, I haven't seen him yet. I would like to. I know when you go see him do a music thing, he'll, have some very funny, obviously, banter between songs. But it is not like you're going to see a Steve Martin comedy show and there happens to be banjo music. You're going to see...
Yeah.
He has to be able to be really good to be able to justify what he does.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe you mentioned all of these accomplishments and not his 15 appearances on SNL as a host. I mean,
well,
come on, Richard.
He was also a renowned wine waiter and connoisseur, as we learned from the
I would
the
like
Muppet
to
movie.
sniff the bottle cap.
It's Idaho's finest.
So that's a cool choice, and I do appreciate the tie-in. In a way, some of these things that people do after their celebrity are things that they were doing before their celebrity, and so that was a neat observation. I believe that brings us to the halftime, and this is the time when we implore you to download, rate, and review the various podcasts that we've done in the past at the various places you can do that, but most specifically, go to Apple iTunes and download, rate, and review past episodes. We'd love to see if you gave them 1 star, 2 star, maybe 5 stars on all of them, and then leave a comment about how you feel about all these things. So,
hey, look, guys, if you want to give 6, 7, even 10 stars, we can find a way to make this work.
Yeah,
just let us know.
Yeah, I got Tim Cook from Apple on the speed dial.
Oh yeah,
so I could probably ask him if he could change the voting or something like that. He might do that for me. You can also go to Audible. Audible is offering a free trial for you, the Mount Rushmore podcast listener. That's right. Just for you, they are offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day free trial. To give you the opportunity to check out their service, you could download and listen to Born Standing Up, A Comic's Life by Steve Martin, read by Steve Martin on Audible. And Audible has over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
I hope that that Steve Martin is it's like a banjo version. There's just a banjo version of just he's playing it with a banjo, but with a Vox. Who's the guy that used to sing?
Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton.
Do you feel
vocoder?
The vocoder through the banjo, doing his maybe Shop Girl.
I started comedy a long time ago. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Rushmore. Again, I repeat. Repete. Audible Trial.
I hosted SNL. Happy now, Michael?
Richard,
I'm
as
delighted.
Steve Martin, as Peter Frampton. Do you feel like I do?
And it was in
I do
a
too.
Philadelphia accent. It was amazing.
Really getting this stuff down, guys, after 100 episodes.
That is amazing. You know what occurred to me? So we're back. And you know what occurred to me is that Richard, Adam Sandler can sing opera as well as do comedy.
You can also act.
I don't know if he can do those things. It's really fashionable to make fun of him, and he's really a good guy. Okay, we is back, and it's time for the second half, the back half of the Mount Rushmore podcast. And oh my God! Hello, everyone. It's great to be here.
Peter Frampton?
Really? No. Peter is also a nickname for a man's what?
His Reagan?
Penis?
His penis. What's another term is dick? That's me.
Tricky Dick Nixon,
Tricky
everybody.
Dick Nixon.
Mr. President.
That's right.
It's like if Batman, if the 1966 Batman was combined with a gorilla.
A breathy kind of Adam Westy sounding out of breath gorilla. Garrison Keillor.
So what brings you round these parts?
I
Mr.
just want to
President?
make sure that their microphones are working because I have microphones myself.
Don't admit to it.
Yeah, no,
not yet.
no, it's
Oh,
fine.
everyone knows.
No, it's fine. Nobody listens to the show
Everyone
anyway.
knows.
It's not like it's going to get out.
That's right, and I also wanted to make sure there was nothing underhanded done in terms of shifty practices. Now I've turned into just Jesse the Body Ventura practices.
Ew, nice when you start getting to Macho Man a little bit.
Oh, yeah. And any choices were above the board and completely legit.
So, we're good so far. Everything's been
so
A+.
far, everything's good.
Before you go, any words of advice to our current president, sir?
Oh, of course. I've got very good words of advice. Oh, I've been pulled back!
Oh no, too late.
Bros, what's up? I was just in the bathroom and I had to come back now. And are you guys still
we're gonna
recording?
We're going to do the second half of the show.
Oh, sweet.
Time for the
Okay.
second half of the show.
Okay. So, all right. So far, all of these things have fully been supported by the topic. And what's your third choice?
My third choice is the master of hyphenates, someone who is a space cowboy, a gangster of love.
I guess we didn't say how many hyphenates you need to be. I just said one hyphenate.
Multi-hyphenate means somebody who is more than one thing. I think.
Okay. So Steve Martin was multiple hyphenates. I wonder if there's anybody who can top that.
I don't know. I think that was a lot of hyphenates.
Sorry, Michael, would you start again?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know where we are.
Just please describe the identities.
Who is the person that you're
roles. How many hyphenates?
Oh, yeah. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 11.
No freaking way.
It's not a real person.
So,
Can't be.
1,
Mhm.
space cowboy.
Whoa.
2, gangster of love.
Okay.
It's Clint Eastwood.
Bicker. Grinner. A lover. Sinner.
Oh,
What?
Some people might know him by the name Maurice
Oh, why?
What?
because he's a joker, smoker, and a midnight toker. It is the awful song from 1973,
No.
The Joker
Jeff,
by the Steve Miller Band.
I'm going to trust you to do the right thing here. I don't even need to raise. This is like when a defense attorney just objection
Yeah.
and just sort of points
Even-
at the guy.
Even I would like to join in on that objection. I'm like the other guy. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, Judge. I just swinging for the fences.
I love how unorthodox this is. And this
Yeah,
choice...
for the record, I approached the bench before the trial got underway, and I cleared it.
Yes.
And he said, "I'll allow it."
I will allow it.
But he gave me one of those. You're on thin ice.
Thin ice.
You better get to the point real quick. Richard, I don't have a point.
I believe
I
this
just
is,
thought this would be a fun, stupid pick.
Relevance, Your Honor. He's leading the witness.
I don't know, something, jurisprudence. Is that a thing you can
is that
ask for? I don't know.
So if the boss of rock and roll is now on Broadway playing Broadway performer with his songs or stories or whatever thing, he's now acting. I think he sets precedence for the incredible multitude of identities that are within the Joker as portrayed by.
I think that's kind of what I had in mind. I like the idea of a song that was about someone who had a, kind of different aspects of their personality, as like, this is the person I am. I am not just one thing. I am all these different things, and it's ridiculous. Like,
I feel like this was
Space Cowboy and Gangster of Love. That was stuff that was like stolen from another song of his.
Yeah.
Like, so, okay, I'm my other songs, or I'm these characters in my other songs. And then, like, reading interviews with him, like, he was just, like, high on, like, the hood of his car. And he was like, I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker. And, like, I guess so, clown.
I feel like this was draft 1 of True Detective Season 1. Like, I can okay, we've got to find the Yellow King. He's a joker. He's a toker. All right. We got to get this guy.
What's a pompadour of love? What is that?
I did a little research, and I guess that he kind of screwed up some lyrics from another song, or he heard a term. The original term was from the song "The Letter" by the Medallions, and it is pronounced doodly doodly doo, puppeteuse, which means a paper doll of erotic. Like a paper doll erotic fantasy figure, and he thought, I can be one of those.
He's one of those. When you see Steve Miller, there's nothing I think of more than erotic.
Yeah.
And then he misheard it and wrote down the word pompadour, which is an actual word, which is weird. That you can that you mishear something, write down the wrong word, and still somehow get it right. But it's just it's Latin for done with pomp or splendor.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of related, but you're just an idiot. Just wrote down the wrong word. And, that's where you are now.
Yeah.
I don't like this song. We've talked about this in other episodes, I think. I don't have, like, there is like a decade of like classic rock that I just don't give a shit about. And this is just right up in there of like, okay, next, let's just skip to 1978, please, with music.
I feel like the music is situational. There is dance music that if you listen to it off the dance floor, you might not really kind of enjoy it to its fullest.
Yeah.
This is, I'm drunk as shit, high by the pool or in a truck or something like that. Or
my freshman year college roommate was a huge Steve Miller fan. Yeah. And as soon as he said that, I kind of looked at him like, okay, huh.
Yeah.
I think I'll be spending a lot of time outside of the dorm that year. I moved out by the middle of the year, although I had nothing really to do with Steve Miller or him specifically. But I was pretty happy not to hear any more Steve Miller for a while after that.
Yeah.
Or really any time.
One of my favorite aspects of these lyrics are what he's not. Because towards the end, right before the last verse, he says, I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker. And if you had thought of him as perhaps a malevolent entity up until this point, he says, I sure don't want to hurt no one. So at that point you go, oh, thank God. Because this person who is so multifaceted and has the power of so many different men who could probably summon armies of himself to come up against us.
Well, we're criticizing these lyrics. Keep in mind, this is the man who wrote the lyrical couplet of taxes and faxes.
Oh, yeah.
And take the money and run. Literally the worst goddamn rhyme in the history of music. I mean, it makes me angry whenever that song comes on the radio because I know that.
Yeah.
And then no good. Bad Steve Miller. You know what else you are? You're a joker, a smoker, and a terrible songwriter.
This song is only popular because of like the like that's it. Like he was high and thought that would be fun to put in there, and everyone loves it because of that.
And then there's the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, of Homer.
Homer, yeah.
Yeah, talk about idiots loving crappy music.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So, I feel like you made your piece. You said your piece.
Yeah, I got a lot off my chest.
Now he's got me all riled up and angry about Steve Miller Band.
I do respect Steve Miller for predicting the complicated nature of the airline industry as it would change in the future.
And the big old jet airliners.
Yeah.
And such.
Yeah. Okay. So, top that, Richard.
I don't know. It's going to be difficult. Hold on, guys. I'm
Literally
shaken. I'm really shaken by this.
Literally, look up anything on Google and it will top this.
Oh boy, Magic Johnson.
Ooh.
That's my next
Oh,
choice.
cool.
Athlete,
Oh.
entrepreneur.
He was an athlete.
Yeah, entrepreneur, talk show host. Question
I'm
mark.
thinking of a different
Wait,
Magic
he used to
Johnson.
talk shows?
And an activist. So we know Magic Johnson, of course, obviously multiple world champion, MVP,
Mhm.
Hall of Famer with the Lakers.
Does he have any honorary awards from the Emmys?
He won an honorary MVP
Okay.
from the Tonys.
His
but
Hamlet on Broadway was amazing.
it was a sight to behold, I believe, is what it was called.
When he played Sally Bowles in Cabaret.
Well, I remember seeing him at the Lamarr Playhouse playing.
Long Day's Journey into Night.
No, I saw him in The Miracle Worker.
The Miracle. And was he Annie Sullivan or Helen Keller?
Oddly enough, he played both.
Oh
roles.
my God, with a
That's how-
puppet.
see again with the hyphenate. So beyond being one of the 10 best basketball players of all time,
Would you say he's on the? No, we don't give.
we
a
don't
shit
do
about
that ever. Don't ever do that again. He also runs Magic Johnson Enterprises, which a small company only has about $700 million of net worth. It's amazing. Like when you think of athlete who becomes successful after being an athlete, Magic Johnson is just now it's almost synonymous with it. Whenever you talk about like a LeBron James or someone like that who's trying to become an entrepreneur or a business person, Shaq, for example.
I think he benefited from a couple things. One, just being so personable and having such a big personality, and like he always seemed like he was a tough competitor, but he's
Mhm.
big smile and always
Yeah.
seemed like a great guy, and in spite of the competitiveness. And two, he just had such a great like brand name. Like
Yeah.
he had, nobody knows him by his real
Right.
name. I mean, everyone knows him by his real name, but no one calls him by his real name.
Mhm.
Everyone calls him by his nickname. He's Magic Johnson. He's
Herbert Magic Johnson.
he's leaped to this new level of like fame with that name. Like
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's so weird to think of that. Like, oh,
It's
I know
such
you.
a brand name.
Yeah.
And I think what's really great about him is it's a brand name that connects with the urban universe. He's gone out of his way over the years to try and not just come up with business ventures that are successful for him, but also things that can benefit low-income communities or bring some sort of something to underserved areas. So he got involved with Starbucks. He basically convinced the CEO that he could open up coffee shops in urban areas, what would be thought of as low-income areas. Open up about 125 of those, and they did incredible business because there was nothing else like that there. Why would you open a Starbucks that's half a mile away from another Starbucks or possibly inside the restroom of a Starbucks?
Yeah.
When you can open up a Starbucks, it doesn't have any competition for miles around. He had a prepaid MasterCard called the Magic Card. Did you have a Magic Card, Jeff?
No. Magic the Gathering? I had a lot of those cards.
What I was looking for.
And in fact, I got to go in like 10 minutes.
Got a game going, MTG game going. So he had this, it was a prepaid MasterCard, and the whole idea was that it would help low-income people save their money and also give them a chance to be involved in electronic commerce.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of these things he's done has been aimed at trying to, bring services to underserviced areas, which are predominantly black.
Yeah.
And, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
He's a HIV activist. I always appreciated the fact that he told George W. Bush to go pound salt after he joined the National Commission on AIDS, and they basically left 8 months later and basically said that the White House just did nothing that they had suggested, were completely ignoring them, and was able to use his position and his fame to be able to sort of get across this idea that the government wasn't doing enough. And then there's the talk show, which a little less said about that. Did you guys ever watch the Magic Hour?
No.
I think the Noid had a talk show too. I was watching that.
Everybody had a goddamn talk show in the 90s, didn't they?
I think what's interesting about this pick.
I was watching the Mac Tonight McDonald's character talk show.
I probably would have watched that, actually.
What's interesting about the pick?
I think that he is someone who, had HIV forced him to make a life change. He obviously came back to basketball and came back to play, and then that didn't work out, and then he coached for a little bit. But then at some point he had to kind of look in the mirror, I'm sure, and realize I have this opportunity to venture out to something beyond basketball. I can be a person to the Black community and to lower income communities, and like I have this ability. What can I do with this? It was I think this is. I think I've praised a couple of Richard's picks so far, but like, it feels gross.
Oh, sorry about that.
I don't like that. But like, this is something that like he didn't necessarily isn't known for something because he has this deep love for woodworking, or that he's also an inventor or whatever.
Yeah.
It's his thing that he had so much passion for was taken away from him. Or like right at the, not necessarily the prime of his life, but like
he still had years left.
He had 4, 5, 6 years left, I'm sure, of what he was going to do. And like, who knows what would have been if that hadn't happened. He would just play more basketball.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe he would have done something afterwards, but he would have just been playing basketball. That's fascinating.
Do you feel like his, so Michael Jordan's also a business person, and that I feel like he has, I have heard less about Michael Jordan's citizenship and community involvement and social welfare and social justice activities than Magic Johnson, because it seems like Magic Johnson has chosen himself to be an ambassador, and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I don't want to go to like the Kobe Bryant theaters, like Michael, but the Magic Johnson theaters, it does have a more welcoming vibe to it.
I remember going to see a movie there the first time in college, and it was a great experience. I mean, he got how to make a good, like a high level, would have been back in the mid 90s, so it wasn't quite the ArcLight or anything, but it was a high level movie going experience.
Yeah,
particularly in an area that didn't have anything like that.
Or the Larry Bird Beef Jerky Center or Carpet Emporium.
That's pretty on brand for him.
I guess so.
That's actually
walk all over, man.
That's so interesting that you do. That is a very so many athletes' lives end up being, I'm selling used cars.
Yeah, or
my name is attached to something in my hometown that I've moved back to, or the small town,
or like a restaurant, or like Ditka, even the successful ones, like Ditka's restaurant, or there's a few of those.
There's something different about him.
Well, I think because he didn't just rely on his name as everything. He didn't just think, oh well, I'll have a restaurant, but I'll just slap my name on it and it'll be successful because hey, people love me. He actually went and did the work and made smart investments. Yeah, and then putting his name on it actually just helped his brand as much as anything else.
And amazing music videos with Michael Jackson.
100%, right? 100%.
Okay. Mr. Winfield.
My last pick is a smoker. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Daytime talk show host, magazine publisher, philanthropist, and 46th president of the United States.
Martha Stewart?
That's right. Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
Oprah Winfrey.
Kind of one of the most well-recognized people on earth.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the most respected. She's had a really kind of crazy and all over the place career. I mean, she started as a daytime talk show host in the same vein as like Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
Came up in Chicago in like the early 80s.
Yeah.
And kind of started in that kind of not seedy format, but it was like you're on there with a panel of other people. I mean, it wasn't like Richard Bay or anything, but it was like... nothing special, but her personality drove it to something bigger than it was. Yeah. And then her show, the Oprah Winfrey Show, ran until 2011. It kind of morphed and changed into where she became like this tastemaker for the world and for the United States specifically. She kind of took that ability and turned it into publishing with her magazine, which I think is ridiculous that it's just called O. Yeah. Every cover has her on it. Yeah. Which is exactly what I would do if I was starting Michael, the magazine.
No, you would just be M.
M.
I'm such an egomaniac. I would have my name. It would be Michael.
Michael the magazine.
No, just Michael. What are you guys changing my magazine for? It's not M. It's not Michael the magazine. It's Michael.
We skip the cover and just look at the centerfold.
There you go. Oh, that's hilarious. But she, outside of that, she became an actress and was nominated for an Academy Award. Has been in a bunch of different acting roles along with the stuff that she's done, and has been like an amazing philanthropist. And I read something that says up until like 2012, she's given away like $400 million of her money to various charities or
opening a school for young women in Africa.
Yeah. And the idea that she probably won't be president. We're going to be stuck in this hellhole of Donald Trumpism for the
Civil War will
6 years.
Until he declares martial law about a year before, and then
she is totally a person that has the ability of anyone that I think we've talked about on the podcast to also be the president.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to have, I don't know if she has the political chops for it, because I think it takes a certain weird ruthlessness, but I mean, I don't know, who knows of her as a person or what all of her views are, but like, she seems like someone that could definitely take that next level.
She does seem like she has the same, if she applies the same intuition that she has as a television entrepreneur in determining, here's this road that I could succeed on, but here's where I want to drive the audience to. I want to take them to have a book club. I want to introduce them to therapists and people who talk about their health and people talk about their money. And she spun off a dozen other personalities that have all their own shows now. So
it's like her book club thing is like, and like the Oprah phenomenon is like wild to think that she could just mention a book and then the sales, like she changes people's lives just because.
I worked at Barnes & Noble during her reign, and you would just say, Oprah 1 is here, Oprah 2 is next week, and then we're going to have Oprah 5. We got 5,000 of Oprah 6. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, we weren't talking about Penguin or Putnam or Random House or anything like that.
Just think of all the hack celebrities that she spawned from her show.
Yeah.
My God.
Dr.
Phil,
Susie Orman,
Dr. Oz. That's pretty much disqualifying, I think, for a presidential candidate right there.
I love that you guys are sniping. So that's a great choice.
No, it's a good choice.
All right, Richard.
My last choice, Paul Newman.
Wait, what? Okay, am I saying this right? Paul Newman.
I know. I've had a lot of out of left field picks for this. The Steve Martin, and now him.
Okay.
Actor, director, race car driver, race car team owner, philanthropist, political activist, and most importantly, salad dressing enthusiast.
Yes.
Paul Newman could pretty much do it all, and Paul Newman is pretty much the person I would have wanted to be if I could have been someone else in a past life. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Okay.
A great actor, obviously one of the great. I believe he may have not just an honorary Oscar. But maybe actually one of the real ones.
A regular.
Yeah, a real.
He's got Oscar regular.
Not Oscar light.
The Verdict, I think he got his Oscar.
No, Color of Money.
Oh, no. It's The Color of Money. Note to self: edit out when I said The Verdict.
Beyond that, he became enamored with race car driving when he was filming the movie Winning, and decided to start becoming a competitor, local SCCA, which are the main governing body for
the ASPCA.
Yes,
he drove in that.
He would
circuit. Look out!
He would drive abused Weimaranders around a track, and the SCCA, which is for sports car racing.
Okay.
And wound up becoming a national champion in that. Finished second in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1979. Did all this as someone who started racing in his 40s, which is just not something anyone does. There's a very good documentary that actually Adam Carolla.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good.
Yeah, it's very good. It just talks about the fact that, if he had started doing this at a younger age, he probably would have been an elite level race car driver.
He kind of has like that race car body too, right? He's kind of a shorter guy,
shorter
kind of
and compact, and
Yeah.
like, I mean, you could just picture him having great eyesight and just the ability to sort
Well,
of.
those eyes.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Are you kidding?
Drive a race car, but could he play a race car?
He did.
Oh shit!
He
You're
did
right.
in Cars. Thank you.
No, I seem dumb.
Yeah, well, silence. He was also a race car team owner. Founded the Newman Haas team in IndyCar. Won 8 championships with them. So always stayed involved with it. Wound up winning races up until
But
was
could
like
he
71.
invent salad dressing?
He could play salad. Yeah, well, we'll get to that. One day he just got obsessed with salad dressing, as one does. I remember your salad dressing phase, Jeff.
That was salad tossing.
Oh, wait, very, very similar. Had his next door neighbor who he just started bugging while he was on the
We'd love that. It's like,
on the set of like The Verdict. He would just
Paul, what'd you want? Is that Jack Nicholson?
I gotta tell you about this salad. So do you think it needs more chives? Or he would just start calling him up and just start bugging him about, because I guess his neighbor was an amateur chef. So he'd just start bugging him about salad dressing, like what do you think would make a great salad dressing, and what would you need, and all this stuff. So one day they went over to his farm and decided to brew up a big old batch of moonshine salad dressing. I don't know what you would call that. It seems like it's moonshining a little bit, but with ranch.
Homebrew, rot gut.
Rot guts. Got
Yeah.
rot gut ranch.
Rot gut
That sounds
ranch.
pretty good. And they're ready to mix it, and it's in a big barrel. And they realized they didn't have anything big enough to stir it. So he says, "Oh, no problem, I got this." Goes out to his like lake, gets the paddle from his canoe.
Oh my god, he didn't make his own paddle too, did he? Oh,
No, it was-
stepping right on my.
It was Nick
pick.
It was Nick Offerman.
Okay, all right.
So use that to stir it. So if you ever want to know what the secret ingredient of Newman's Own is, it's listeria. So
Better than getting the old Evinrude and putting that right in that pot.
right in. It's real good. So he wound up making a batch, handing it out to just friends and neighbors that he had. That wound up spurring the snowball effect of him deciding, well, this is something we could sell, and we could sell this for with all the profits going to charities. And they've made like more than $400 million in profits that have all gone to charity since he started doing the Newman's Own salad dressings, frozen pizzas, lemonades. You know, basically, I think there's like Newman's Own like Insure at this point.
Yeah,
I feel pretty confident in.
Oh, I'm wearing the underwear right now.
Oh, are you?
Mhm.
How are they?
That's good.
Okay, good. You know, he's a political activist.
Yeah.
He, when Joe Lieberman switched from a Democrat to independent, they contemplated running him against Joe Lieberman in Connecticut for senator because they wanted to get him out of there. And he decided not to do it eventually. But he's just somebody, I think for me, he's intriguing because he did all these things, and none of it seemed calculated. None of it seemed, I mean, Magic Johnson was entrepreneurial. It was definitely very focused and purposeful. Paul Newman just seems like he fell ass backwards into all this shit and wound up being like incredibly good at it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a value in that.
Yeah.
In of itself.
It does seem like the cool hand Luke. Sometimes nothing's a pretty strong hand. This kind of luck that he had seemed to. You
get the sense that like his character, like in Cool Hand Luke, and him in real life, there maybe wasn't a ton of.
Not much of a plan. Yeah.
Or there wasn't the personas were maybe fairly similar, and sort of that's how it played itself.
What I
out
think
in
is
real life.
fascinating about that is if you are a celebrity who is very wealthy, you have this inner circle, or maybe it includes your family, maybe it includes your best friends. And if you say, "Hey, I want to breed Maltipoos," they all say, "Sure, go ahead.
Right.
Do whatever you want." And if you cook up some food, you say, "How's this taste?" They all say, "It's great. It's the best salad dressing I've ever had in my life."
Right.
So how do you know what the fuck you're good at or what you're not really good at?
Exactly.
Because you got yes men all around you.
I don't think he did. I think he seems like somebody who was, surrounded himself with more like kind of normal-ish people.
Well, his racing team surround himself with people who are better than he is, and
right. Yeah. I mean, and grease monkeys aren't necessarily going to be the most tactful people in terms of like I haven't been around racing people before. They're not going to kiss your ass.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
okay, Google.
Cool.
Okay, Google.
Gruel, you guys.
You show me.
Guys, so this has been awesome. It's been fun to discuss, but I got to open up the bag. All right.
Borglum's back.
In a recent episode, we talked about album covers. We talked about distinctive album covers that we thought were unusual or compelling. And there's a couple album covers that are in rotation in my Spotify. One is I'm a big Steely Dan fan, and the cover of Asia I always thought was really interesting. And I'm also a fan of America, and there's an album that they have that has a portrait of the band on there. Poco, there's a couple album covers from Poco that I really enjoy. There's a Crosby, Stills, and Nash album cover that has a kind of a Gaelic treatment of their initials kind of intertwined with each other. All those were created by, yes, you knew it, Phil Hartman, prior to being a comedian.
Wait, Phil Hartman did Asia? I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
That one I did not know.
Yeah.
I knew the America one.
Unless this is bullshit. I believe he did Asia, or his agency did Asia, but it says Phil Hartman did Asia.
Well, that's probably true then.
So,
did you find it on the internet?
The internet, yep.
Is that where? Okay, then it's true.
It is true,
Okay.
for sure. I was a huge Phil Hartman fan. I was always amazed at his skill, how much he was able to tickle my funny bone and play different characters, and like Steve Martin, kind of do a one-off of your typical kind of entertainer type performer. Often he made fun of blowhards and people who were full of themselves. So that is my Borglum bag choice.
But how is the salad dressing, Jeff?
Tart. A little tart.
A little too much yogurt?
Too much yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me evaluate the choices. What I thought was interesting, Michael, I felt like yours were definitely about identity. The Joker and Steve Miller, notwithstanding all of those things that he was, I thought it was really interesting because a lot of it was inward. It's about who they were publicly and kind of who they were privately, or not wanting to be labeled as an artist versus a scientist versus a botanist versus a biologist like Leonardo. And Oprah Winfrey, I think like somebody like Walt Disney, has this identity that they show to the world, and then this identity that probably is their true thing that happens off stage. Richard, I thought it was really interesting how you most of your choices seem to be entrepreneurial. These people either have businesses or created business. Many of them were inventing things. Not Steve Martin, but Magic Johnson and Paul Newman and Hedy Lamarr were kind of inventing business models or inventions or things like that. So I thought that was cool. These are the things I would like to choose. I would like to choose, because I find it so compelling, Leonardo da Vinci, because probably he's the first person in the history to have done so many amazing things that we can remember.
He's the Leonardo da Vinci.
He is
Renaissance
the Leonardo, yeah. And let me make sure we're still rolling. And I would also like to choose, so that is up on the Mount Rushmore. I'm going to say that's in the Washington spot. And the rest goes to Manfredi. That being Hedy Lamarr.
That's Hedley.
That being Paul Newman. And that being Irwin Magic Johnson? Irvin Magic Johnson.
Claudel Magic Johnson.
And that has been the Mount Rushmore podcast. As always, my name is Jeff, and I'm also a puppeteer.
My name is Richard, and I am also a mime.
I'm Michael. I don't go anywhere. Nonsensical game.